Hey guys, Brian from Fort Knox Company. Over the weekend I did some concrete work and I filmed it so that you guys could follow along and see what I did, see what it takes to kind of mix the concrete, maybe make some forms, and maybe you have a project around the house that you want to do. So I'll show you guys what I did, show you how easy it can be. It's not too hard at all, and something fun that we did with the family at the end, I'll show you. We actually got to put all of our handprints in it, so maybe the kids will see that years down the road. It'll be something fun for them. I know I remember doing it when I was a kid growing up, and I could go back and put my hand there. So something fun for them, something fun to do, and something that you can do really quick over the weekend. I'll show you, follow along. Let's go. First, you need to clear out the dirt, make sure it's nice and flat. I cleared out most of the big rocks just so I knew exactly what kind of area I was going to be working with. Then I was going to be measuring it, measuring at the door and measuring at the concrete pad, and I wanted the pad to have a little bit of an angle where it came out at the bottom, so that was about 40 inches. I then transferred that over to some scrap wood that I was going to make the forms out of. You'll see here it's about 3 inches at the concrete, about 7 inches at the door, and 40 inches is the length that will give me that fan out at the bottom of the ramp where it meets the slab. That way it kind of gives me a wider base there. And I knew that if I had 40 inches on either side, it'd give me the same, it'd make it pretty symmetrical. So 3, 7, and 40. All I had to do was cut that out twice. It was really easy because after I cut out the first one, I just used that to trace the other one and made sure that they were matching. Really nice to have some of the scrap wood left over. Anybody who works with wood knows that we always like to save all those pieces. So something I wanted to do was actually bury some pipes right here in the dirt, because I have this water line right here which goes to the sprinkler system. So if I ever want to run water into the backyard, I can just tap it off of this and continue it back. But I don't want to be able to go, I won't be able to go underneath the pad once I pour the concrete. So I put those pipes there in case I want to run electrical or like low voltage, or if I want to do some water, I can run a water line through there later on and I'll easily be able to get through it or underneath. So just to give myself options in the future. First I had to actually trench a little bit of a hole. Wanted to make sure it was long enough to actually fit the pipes in there and it was deep enough to cover. I wanted them to be just below the surface. Wasn't too hard. The dirt here wasn't really that compact. So really easy work with the pickaxe. Then I had to just install the forms. With that 40-inch length, it already gave me that little bit of a fan out, like I said, at the bottom there. From a previous concrete job that I had, I already had these spikes, but these are ones that are actually used to help with forms because there's some holes in the side of the spike. And once you have the spike in the ground, you can actually screw the form to the side of it and level it out. You can see here I'm just using basically a 1 5/8 drywall screw, something just to hold it temporarily. This isn't going to be a really big concrete job, so I'm not too worried about the weight. And then I just repeated the same things on the other side, making sure that I had pretty much the same spread at the bottom. And then when I go to spike in the top one, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to actually hit where I put those plastic pipes. So I was really careful about where I hammered that in, but that was the first thing I thought when I was going to hammer it in there, that I was going to break right through that pipe. Threw a little bit of dirt in there just to kind of fill it in. Usually when you're doing concrete pads, a lot of times they'll put gravel on the bottom, so this is just my version of that. And then I used a little bit of the dirt around the sides to fill in any voids that were around the bottom of the form. Last thing you want is to pour your concrete in and watch it start running out the side, so make sure there's no gaps along the bottom. Then I used Quikrete 60-pound bags. I like to use the 60-pound bags because it's a little bit easier to move when you're loading them in the truck by yourself, but they do make 90-pound bags as well. Watering everything down, and then I have a little tamper that I'll actually compact the dirt a little bit. I did this the night before. This should help with the ground settling so that when I do pour the concrete on top of it, if it was going to, hopefully this will prevent it from actually settling or sinking and maybe prevent cracks in the future. So I have 6 bags set here. I kind of eyeballed it and thought that this should work, but luckily I had some more in the garage. The whole job ended up actually taking 12 bags of concrete, which I did not expect, but luckily I had about 14 sitting in the garage. Watered it down one more time before I actually got ready to mix it. When you're working with concrete, you want to make sure that the surfaces that you're going to be putting the concrete on are not too dry. So a lot of times they will recommend that you spray a little bit of water on them. Concrete, as you can imagine, is very hydrosensitive. So here I'm not actually measuring it because I've mixed concrete a lot by hand, but it's always better to start with a little bit of water and work your way up and get the consistency that you want. I have a general idea of what it usually takes for 1 or 2 bags. When mixing it by hand, it's always easier just to add a little bit more. It's really hard to take away if you end up making it too watery. So this is the consistency that I was going for. It's not too watery. I can easily move my shovel through it, and when I set it down, it kind of holds its shape. You definitely don't want it to be too runny. Then it's just gonna spill all over the place, and this ramp has a slope, so I need it to sit a little bit. Next, you just add it into the forms. Mix a couple more bags, add some more, mix a couple more bags and add some more, and I repeated this step. And I found out really quick that it was going to take a lot more than 6 bags. So I had to go get some more bags, did some more mixing, more mixing. It seemed endless. This is one of my favorite parts where you actually get to kind of spread it out. I was doing this to kind of help see exactly how much I needed, but I was nowhere near getting to the top of those forms. The goal here is to actually fill it slightly over, so that when you screed the top, you can actually make sure that it's flat all the way across and you'll have a little bit of runoff. So I just continued with mixing more bags. Took about 12 bags to actually fill this up enough. Here I'm just using a flat trowel to help move it around where I need it. Eventually that's what I'll use to flatten the surface and take out some of the lines or marks. But using a hand trowel will let you get a little bit more concrete in specific areas if you need it. Here I was just kind of working from the left to the right and finding out that I still needed to mix a couple more bags to get it to where I wanted it. So I'm adding some more. At this point, I was just mixing 1 bag at a time because I didn't know exactly how much I'd need. I was hoping that I wasn't gonna have to use all the bags that I had sitting in the garage, but I figured that I needed at least 1 or 2 more, so I mixed another one by hand, and I'm really just trying to get it so that it's slightly filled over the top of the forms. I'm just trying to use the hand trowel to get a real good idea of if I need 1 more bag, and I did. There was too much room left between the top of the form and where the finished surface was. So now I finally got enough in there to where I can take my concrete screed, which was just a nice straight board that I had in the garage. You want to run it across the top of the forms and just slowly move it back and forth in a zigzag motion like you see here. And what that's going to do is going to shake the concrete a little bit. As you move concrete, it actually works water up to the surface, so you'll see it start to smooth out the more you mess with it. So at some point, if it becomes too watery, gotta let it sit for a little bit, and then you'll notice the surface will start to firm up a little bit, and you can then go back and work it more. At the end, I worked from the bottom up because it's sloping, so that helped me push some of the concrete up, and that gave me the right finish height there at the garage entrance. Then I just came back with the hand trowel and smoothed it all out. And as I work it, you can see the surface start to get more shiny. That's just the water actually coming up to the surface. That's how you can get that good finish. While all that's sitting, make sure you clean off all your tools. This stuff will dry in a heartbeat, especially in this hot Las Vegas weather. That was the biggest thing working against me, was the heat outside. It's a little bit over 100 degrees right now. So I worked the surface one last time to give it a smooth finish, then I had to let it sit a little bit. You can see here it's actually look a little bit more dry. So I took a mason's brush and I wanted to give it the final texture. These mason brushes are awesome, especially when you're trying to take out any imperfections or any lines that you might have. Whatever surface finish you have at the very end of this is how it's going to look when it's done. So even though it's really wet and it's really easy to make a mark or a dent or a little divot, just remember that when you're working with concrete, however you let it sit overnight or however long you're gonna let it dry, that last time you touch it, that little brush mark that you put, that's how it's gonna stay. So take a little bit of time here. I was trying to get the lines to look pretty even and nice and parallel, but I knew this is gonna be my finished surface. And as I actually run the brush across, it's pushing a little bit of water off. So it's gonna help me see how that finished surface is gonna look at the end. Now the fun part, let it sit for just a minute, but not too long, because you still want to be able to put your handprints in it. That's the whole point of this project, right?
So we're going to put our handprints in it.
Okay.
The shovel.
Let me wash mine real quick.
Wow, they're so tiny.
All right, let me see. It's my turn.
Okay, so you're gonna put your hand down,
Like this.
just put it right there, and then push and kind of wiggle a little bit, kind of jiggle your hand. Do you feel it sink in a little bit? Put more in your palm, and pull out. Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
All right, let's wash your hand off. And then put your hand out. You can do it. No, do it. Open your fingers.
Wait, Jax,
Open
you
your
gotta
fingers.
wait your turn.
And then squeeze, push down, push down. Push, 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 push. Push, 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 push. Okay, let mommy wash your hands. Okay, now your
Wait,
turn,
wait,
Jax.
wait,
Wait, right hand. Open your hand. Whoa, no. Put your hand all the way in. Put your hand all the way in. Oh, do it. Okay, I'll make it. Oh, baby Jax.
Okay, let's wash our hands. Let's wash our hands.
So after I let it sit for about a day, the next morning you could see it's still a little bit dark, but it's definitely hard enough to walk on. I wanted to remove the forms. It's pretty simple. Just tap them with the hammer. It breaks right off. That smooth inside surface didn't stick to the concrete. And these posts were only maybe 4 or 5 inches into the ground, and they came right out no problem. Clean up the edges with the shovel just to get a kind of look at what it is next to it. And then I'll remove some of the dirt right here, and you can see where the pipes actually come underneath. So later on, if I ever decide to run some electrical or water lines, I can easily get to those. And because I didn't use a round over hand trowel, basically they have some finished tools that you can make some nice curved round edges. You can kind of see it on the concrete pad that I'm standing on. That was the RV driveway. I just took a shovel here just to knock down those corners. Eventually they might chip if you step on them or roll something over them. So I just figured while it was soft, I would knock down those edges with the little hand shovel that I had.
These are hands.
What hands are which?
Mine.
Where's mine? Where's mommy's?
Mommy.
And where's baby Jax's?
Yeah.
That's right.
And where's my trolley? Where's mine?
Yeah, that's Charlie's. Whoa. You got a big hand. Let's see if mine fits. Oh my goodness.
And you, Mom.
And mommy's.
Yeah.
Jax, where's your hand?
Here.
Oh, this one's mine.
Baby Jack says it's not an enemy.
Oh no. Now all you have to do is really let it sit for the next couple days. I wet it down, brushed it off, and cleaned it before it sat for too long. But pretty much done. Nice, easy, clean, and it's a fun thing to do with the family. You can put your handprints in there, you can write your names, but do it while it's still a little bit wet. Keep an eye on it within that first hour. That's gonna be your time frame to be able to work in and maybe put your handprints or write your names on it or something. This stuff hardens up really quick, so you don't wanna let it sit for too long before you mess with it. You can see here, using those forms gave me a nice, really smooth, flat edge. Both sides came out awesome.
See you later.
Bye. So I hope you guys liked the video. It was really fun making it. I've been wanting to make that concrete pad for a long time. It's always good to do that, something like that with the family. You know, you can put their prints in it. You could even write your name on it and stuff, but it's really fun. Took me a lot more concrete than I expected. So I always say that when you're working with concrete, make sure you have a couple extra bags, even if you do the math. The bags have a little ratio on how much concrete you're gonna need based off how big of a form that you have. But I always like to have a couple extra bags laying around for this exact reason. 12 bags of concrete mixed by hand isn't easy, but you earn it, get your cardio in for the day, and now I can actually roll my tools in and out of the garage really easy. I've been going through that dirt for a couple years because I just hadn't got around to it. So it's good to get it done. It was a fun project. If you guys have any questions about concrete, let me know. This was just something I did for fun that I wanted to show you guys, but you can do this stuff yourself. It's not that hard, and it's definitely a lot more affordable if you do it yourself. So hit me up if you have any questions. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next build.